Right now, picture this. You're on what was supposed to be a simple guided trek through the heart of the Amazon. The air is thick with moisture, heavy like a blanket you can't shake off. The group stops for a quick break to take photos of the towering trees and colorful birds. You decide to step just a few meters away to adjust your boot that has come loose. The ground feels soft and uncertain under your feet. When you look up after those few seconds, the trail has completely vanished. The dense green wall of vines, leaves, and branches has closed in around you. Your heart starts beating faster. You call out for the others, but the jungle seems to absorb every sound, swallowing your voice into a vast, living silence. In that exact moment, you realize how incredibly easy it is to become completely lost in this environment. The Amazon rainforest is one of the most complex places on Earth. It holds many challenges for anyone who enters without proper preparation. A jaguar, known scientifically as Panthera onca, possesses an incredibly powerful bite, strong enough to handle large prey like caimans in the water. Yet, surprisingly, the most common difficulties people face when lost here are not from large animals. The real challenges are often the ones you cannot see immediately, the invisible forces that test every part of your body and mind over hours and days. This video will share 3 important truths that most people don't fully consider when thinking about the Amazon. First, we will examine the actual probabilities and main risks of being lost in this vast rainforest, based on real data and scientific observations. Second, we will explore a well-documented survival story from someone who faced this exact kind of situation and what allowed her to make it through. And third, we will uncover the surprising revelation that the biggest challenge isn't always what you might expect at first. It's understanding how your own body responds when faced with the unique conditions of this environment, and how the jungle itself becomes the most significant test. Let's begin by anchoring everything in solid facts. In the Brazilian Amazon, documented encounters between jaguars and humans are quite rare. According to compiled records spanning from 1950 to recent years, there have been around 84 confirmed cases, which averages to approximately 12 encounters per year. In the great majority of these situations, about 5%, the people involved were able to survive and move away safely. Most of these encounters happened when someone surprised a jaguar that was protecting its prey or its young. The animals typically act in defense rather than seeking out people. This low frequency shows that while respect is important, the statistical chance of a direct encounter remains very small compared to other risks. What then represents the more frequent difficulties? Getting disoriented tops the list. The canopy above is so thick that sunlight barely reaches the forest floor in many areas, making it extremely hard to maintain any sense of direction. Everything begins to look the same after a few hours. The same shades of green, the same patterns of vines and roots. Navigation tools like GPS can fail due to the dense cover and weather conditions. Without local knowledge or clear landmarks, the probability of staying on course drops significantly for an unprepared person. Dehydration becomes a serious concern much faster than many realize. The constant high humidity, often above 90%, combined with temperatures that can feel oppressive even in the shade, causes your body to lose fluids steadily. Sweat forms, but doesn't evaporate well in this moist air, which affects your cooling system. Within 48 to 72 hours without adequate clean water, energy levels drop sharply, thinking becomes cloudy, and physical strength decreases. Finding safe drinking water is another layer of difficulty because many streams and pools contain microorganisms that can cause illness if not treated properly. Infections present another major challenge. Even small cuts from thorns or insect bites can become problematic quickly in the warm, humid conditions. The rainforest environment has an incredibly high level of microbial activity. What starts as a minor irritation can develop into something more serious if not managed, further draining your resources and focus. These factors combine to create a situation where the jungle doesn't need dramatic action to create difficulties. It simply continues its natural processes while testing human limits. Studies on tropical rainforest physiology show that the combination of heat, humidity, and limited visibility places steady pressure on the human system. Your body works harder just to maintain normal functions, and over several days this accumulated stress becomes one of the primary concerns. One of the most remarkable documented survival stories from the Amazon comes from December 24, 1971. 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke was traveling with her mother on Lanza Flight 508 over the Peruvian Amazon. The plane was struck by lightning during a storm and broke apart midair. Juliane fell approximately 3,000 meters, nearly 2 miles, still strapped to her row of seats. She was the sole survivor of the crash that claimed 91 lives. When she regained consciousness on the forest floor, she had a broken collarbone, a deep cut on her arm, a torn ligament in her knee, and a concussion. Her glasses were gone, making the already confusing environment even harder to navigate. Dressed only in a torn sleeveless dress and one sandal, she faced the immense task of finding her way out alone. Juliane remembered lessons from her parents, who were biologists working in the region. She decided to follow a small stream, knowing that water flows toward larger rivers where people might be found. For 11 days, she walked through the dense forest. She endured heavy rains, dealt with painful insect bites, and even had to manage an infestation of botfly larvae in her injured arm. She carefully removed maggots when possible and continued moving despite exhaustion and pain. On the 11th day, she reached a lumberjack camp. The workers there provided initial care and helped transport her to safety. Her story remains one of the most incredible examples of human resilience in the rainforest, showing that survival is possible with clear thinking, basic knowledge, and determination. However, experts emphasize that her success depended on several fortunate factors that most people would not have. But here's what many people don't fully realize about being lost in the Amazon. The biggest challenge often isn't a sudden dramatic encounter that lasts seconds. Instead, it's the slow, steady process of becoming exhausted and disoriented as the hours turn into days. The jungle creates conditions that test your mental clarity and physical reserves gradually. Your body was not built to thrive in the Amazon the way you might expect. Human evolution took place in environments that were generally more open and had different patterns of heat and moisture. In the constant high humidity of the rainforest, your body's natural cooling mechanisms face new demands. Sweat production increases, but because the air is already saturated with moisture, evaporation slows down dramatically. This leads to a buildup of heat and faster fluid loss than in drier climates. Your cardiovascular system works harder to circulate blood and manage temperature. Over time, this can lead to fatigue and reduced concentration. The stress response that helps in short-term challenging situations, the release of adrenaline and heightened awareness, becomes tiring when it continues without resolution for many hours or days. Neuroscience research on prolonged uncertainty in environments with limited visibility shows that the brain can shift into a state where decision-making becomes more difficult as it tries to conserve energy. Small decisions that seem simple in normal conditions, choosing which direction to walk, when to rest, or how to find water, become increasingly complex when your body and mind are under steady pressure. This is why preparation, mental strategies, and respect for the environment matter so much. The Amazon doesn't single anyone out. It simply presents the same natural conditions to every visitor, and those conditions reveal the limits of human adaptation in this particular ecosystem. For thousands of years, indigenous communities living in the Amazon have developed deep understanding of these realities. In traditions such as those of the Takano people and other groups, the jaguar is often seen as a symbol of strength, power, and careful territory management. The anaconda, in turn, is frequently connected to the rivers and the flowing life force of the forest. These stories don't present the animals or the environment as enemies to defeat. Rather, they teach respect and the importance of moving carefully as a visitor in a complex, balanced system. Ancient knowledge turned survival into a matter of relationship and observation rather than confrontation. This perspective offers valuable lessons for anyone entering the region today. As we consider these different aspects, it becomes clear how layered the experience of the Amazon truly is. The visible wildlife, the sounds of insects and birds, the constant movement of water, and the overwhelming scale of vegetation all work together to create an environment that feels both beautiful and profoundly indifferent to human presence. Let's take a moment to imagine walking deeper into this world. The ground beneath your feet is a mix of mud, decaying leaves, and roots that twist in unexpected patterns. Every step requires attention because what looks solid might give way. The air carries countless scents, rich earth, flowering plants, and the faint mustiness of decomposition that fuels new growth. Sunlight filters through the canopy in shifting patterns, creating moving spots of brightness that can play tricks on your eyes. After several hours, the mind starts to search for familiar shapes that aren't really there. In this setting, maintaining calm becomes one of the most important skills. Panic uses energy quickly and clouds judgment. Many survival experts recommend focusing on small, manageable tasks, finding a water source, creating basic shelter, or marking your path clearly. Knowledge of edible plants, basic first aid, and understanding weather patterns can make a significant difference. Yet, even with preparation, the sheer scale of the Amazon means that anyone lost faces a genuine test of adaptability. The probabilities paint a realistic picture. While dramatic animal encounters capture attention in stories, the data shows that environmental and physiological factors account for the majority of difficulties. Staying found, or being found quickly, dramatically improves outcomes. Modern search efforts use technology when possible, but the dense forest still makes the task challenging. This is why traveling with experienced guides, carrying proper equipment, and informing others of your plans remain the best approaches. Yet the Amazon also offers profound rewards for those who respect its boundaries. Its incredible biodiversity, the sounds of howler monkeys at dawn, the flash of colorful birds, and the feeling of being surrounded by one of Earth's most dynamic living systems create experiences that stay with people for a lifetime. The key lies in approaching it with awareness rather than overconfidence. The Amazon rainforest is an incredibly complex and powerful ecosystem. It doesn't change its nature for anyone who enters. It simply exists, vast, ancient, and full of both wonder and important lessons for those who choose to experience it. What would you do if you found yourself truly alone in that green world? How would you respond to the gradual challenges that test not just your strength, but your ability to stay clear-headed and respectful of the environment around you? The jungle continues its cycles of growth and renewal, reminding every visitor of humanity's place within a much larger story. It invites careful reflection on how we interact with wild places and what we carry within ourselves when facing the unknown.